So Nick, good to have you here at your inaugural appearance at the New Orleans Investment Conference. We got you here for the first time this year because I've been noticing some really remarkable returns in your newsletter, Early Advantage. It's kind of a wide-ranging letter. You do everything from clean tech to natural resources to really whatever you think is going to work, it seems like, and you've found some areas that have really performed very well. What do you like right now?
Well, right now I like 3D printing, but before we talk about that, I'd like to backtrack a little bit and say when I came into this business in 2007, you know, that was right when the market started to implode, and so that was my first experience in the market. And that's
trial by fire.
Exactly right. So that's why my letter is so diversified. Really, my philosophy, my approach is to manage everything yourself, manage your own financial destiny, be the CEO of your life. And so I try to provide investment ideas that can help you do that on your own. So as you mentioned, resources and materials, but right now really 3D printing is really what I'm looking at. There's some interesting technologies there that can allow garage tinkerers and companies to eliminate the development cost of certain products. Instead of having to develop a prototype and send it out to be machined or shopped, they can do it with a CAD program, a computer-aided design program, upload the schematic and print out a prototype right there. And there's some really interesting plays there. 3D Systems is one of them.
Okay.
Yep, and Stratasys is another one.
And are those lower cap, higher value companies, or do they have pretty high potential?
Those companies, they've actually doubled already this year. The market caps are in the billions, so they're a little bit bigger. They still have a long way to go, but if you want to talk about one that's a little bit smaller, there's a company called Organovo that I actually recommended 2 months ago, and it's been since recommended on CNBC and featured there, so it's up about 45%, but they're using this 3D printing technology to print actually human tissue. They're taking cells from donors and they're using the 3D technology to layer these cells to make any sort of tissue or organ they want, and it has vast implications for medical testing because, as you know, pharmaceutical testing is a billion-trillion-dollar industry, and if they can test these new drugs on tissues instead of people, then there's a huge money to be made there.
Interesting. What other areas of technology, for example, do you like right now?
In the technology space, one thing I'm looking at is a material called graphene. So this is a single layer, a single atomic layer of graphite, really, just what you would shave off of a pencil, except one single atom thick, and it has all kinds of implications for aerospace, military, and defense. The military, for example, has used it to make sort of an invisibility cloak. It bends light rays around whatever you want to cloak in invisibility, and it even is in the new iPad. So the battery sits in a graphene sort of quilt, and it absorbs the heat. So, you know, if you have a laptop on your lap for an hour or two, it gets sort of hot, doesn't it? Well, this graphene, it absorbs that heat, and so that it dissipates that problem.
So you've got plays that are offer some high potential for investors in that area?
Yeah, well, to make graphene, you need graphite, and graphite is sort of in a situation that rare earths was in a couple years ago. It's got a stranglehold by the Chinese. They control about 75% of production, but I found this mine up in Canada, in Ottawa, that's actually the largest graphite mine in the world, and it had been shuttered in the 80s when graphite prices plummeted, but now that they're starting to rise back up again because of this newfound demand and the Chinese stranglehold, they're able to open up this mine, and they actually have the world's largest resource of graphite and the best quality graphite. It has the largest flake size and the highest carbon content, so I think it's one of the best plays. The company, by the way, is called Northern Graphite.
I noticed that in your letter, and as you say, you kind of cross the bounds from technology to resources, and I think that's a prime example of how you do that.
Right. I mean, I'm not heavy on resource plays themselves. I like commodity prices. So, you know, I like oil when it goes below $85, and I buy it then, and I sell it when it rises to 100. We do the same thing with natural gas through ETFs, and even with hedges like silver and gold. So it's really soup to nuts, encompassing your whole financial well-being.
Well, Nick, it's been a great pleasure having you at the conference. You were on our energy panel yesterday, and I thought that was a really dynamic panel. You had a lot of very interesting recommendations there. And it's great to have you at the conference now. Early Advantage is your newsletter, and as I say, I've been reading it over the past year, and have been very impressed with your returns. We hope to have you back for years to come.
Well, hey, Brian, it was a pleasure to be here, and it's great to be in New Orleans for the first time.
Great. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.